What's up, everyone? Welcome into HQ Spotlight. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Jacqueline D'Agostino alongside Haley Sutton. Week 6 of the NFL officially here. We have an NFC East showdown. This is your division, but we're not talking about your teams. We're talking about your rivals here, okay? In the Eagles and the G-Men. Both of these teams kind of trying to bounce back here. I know you're watching this like, as a Cowboys fan, can they both lose?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to lie. I was very happy to see the Eagles lose last week. I will not be shy about that. I will say some of the narratives out there about that team is a little silly. They are still one of the best teams
100%.
In the NFL. But it certainly would be bold to see the G-Men pick up a win over the Eagles. It would be 2 straight for Philly. It would also be bold to see Joe Flacco get out there and do some crazy things since he was traded. So there's a lot of moving parts as we get started here in Week 6 of the NFL. Of course, if you remember, Flacco came over to the Bengals via trade with the Browns, hoping to spark some winning ways for a Cincy team. Of course, coming off back-to-back losses. They're trying to manage, of course, until Joe Burrow can return. Maybe Joe Flacco is the answer. Unfortunately, he is facing a Lion who is hungry for quarterback hits. Micah Parsons has sacked a lot of them, but never Joe Flacco in his short career. Of course, as you look at the numbers there, he's one of the best in the business when it comes to getting to the quarterback. And our experts expecting him to do just that come Sunday. Let's welcome in our experts. Leger Douzable knows a thing or two about disrupting the quarterback, our former defensive lineman joining us alongside our longtime NFL analyst and the always positive Pete Prisco. Pete, I want to start with your bold prediction to get this one started. With Joe Flacco and Micah Parsons, kind of laid it out there. We saw the numbers there. Basically, when it comes to your bold prediction here, you're telling us Joe Flacco is going to get used to that grass at Lambeau Field.
He's going to get used to seeing Micah Parsons a lot. And look, Micah Parsons has been good. He hasn't been great. I think in this game he's going to be great. When you look at the Bengals and their offensive line, they're giving up 3 sacks per game. That's 15 on the year. They haven't been good at all. And in fact, a lot of people blame that line for the reasons that Joe Burrow even got hurt in the first place. So I think when you look at it from that standpoint, I think Parsons and that defense, they didn't like what they did the last time out against Dallas. They've had 2 weeks to stew over that, and I think they're going to play much better. So I'm going to get my bold predictions, Micah Parsons, 3 sacks in this game. And by the way, I can make it a little bolder. It wouldn't shock me to see him get 4.
Pete, that ain't bold. I'm going to up you one. I'm going to go Micah Parsons, 3 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. For everything you just talked about, the Bengals' offensive line has been abysmal. Aiden Hutchinson actually should have had 3 last week. He had the first sack. They called him offside. That was a little suspect. Then they got called for a defensive holding. He had a safety. They called that sack off, but he ended up getting one later on a sack and forced fumble. And I think game script-wise, Pete, you spoke about this earlier. The Bengals have been down big in a lot of games early. That bodes well for pass rushers because they can pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. And you said it, Green Bay defense is stewing after how they performed versus Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. That was the first time all season I've seen this Green Bay defense look dejected. Every single player on that defensive side, they just looked like former selves of themselves. They didn't look like the defense that was so dominant the first couple of weeks. You talked about it, Pete. They're coming off a bye. Micah Parsons had that back earlier in the season. Now he has an extra week to get that back ready. I think he gets after Joe Flacco. And Haley, you talked about it. He hasn't sacked him yet, so you know that's in the back of his mind. So I'm going to raise you, Pete. 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles for Micah Parsons.
By the way, I just heard from the teacher, you have to go sit in the corner for copying my damn paper again, Leger. What the heck
You
are we
copied my
doing?
paper.
And by the way, you can bring one of your gourmet meals to bribe the teacher. You're still in detention, by the way. You can't copy my paper.
Remember when I let
I'll
off
put
the
my
segment?
answers in before you.
Remember when I led off with the segment, the always positive Pete Prisco? That is what we do on this show when it comes to bold predictions. I will mention that both of these teams have not won since week 2. This is also the last time we've done bold predictions together on this show since week 2. I do have some of you guys' numbers here. Pete, during week 2, you went 1 of 3. Leger, you went 0 of 3. So let's see if we can do a little better there. That's our first topic. We are going to move along, though, and talk about Joe's former team, the Browns, rolling out Dillon Gabriel for his second start with Cleveland, taking on Pittsburgh at 1 p.m. on CBS. Pete, what's your bold prediction when it comes to the rookie?
I think Dillon Gabriel is going to play much better. I think they're going to allow him to do more things in this game. And if you look at the Pittsburgh defense, they're 30th in pass defense. They give it up 260 yards per game. So there's going to be opportunities to take some shots down the field. and I think the training wheels are coming off. I think Dillon Gabriel is going to throw for 250 and 2 touchdowns, and I might be a little low, by the way. And I know he's only in his first game starting here in the United States and after starting overseas last week. But I do think he's going to take the training wheels off. You can't learn what he is as a quarterback if you restrict what he does. Last week, it wasn't too big for him. He did a nice job handling things, but now it's time to let him throw the ball down the field. I think this is a great opportunity against that defense. So I'm going to go Dillon Gabriel, 250 and 2.
Put me back on the camera, please. Pete, is this bowl predictions or mid predictions? 250? Are you kidding me? You just said the Steelers defense are 30th ranked when it comes to pass defense. Every quarterback they've faced this year, Pete, has thrown for over 250 yards, except for Justin
Fields. They got to take the training wheels off of them. The prediction is basically they're taking the training wheels off of them.
That's only 60 more yards than what he did last week. He had 190 pass yards last week.
I think the context as well, though, bold can be relative depending on the person and the position, right? So if you were to say 250 yards for Joe Flacco, yeah, that doesn't feel bold. But his second start last week, he threw for 190. He did have the 2 touchdowns. It's still not bold enough for you, Leger.
No, because of what you just said, Haley. He almost threw for 202 touchdowns in his first start. This is the 30th ranked pass defense.
By the way, Leger, we've done this segment for about 4 years now, and I think you've had like 2 bold predictions the entire time. So quit picking on mine.
Leger, let's get to your next one.
You always give me gruff about my bold prediction, so I'm giving you gruff. 250 and 2 pass touchdowns. He almost had that in his first start.
All right, let's.
I'd rather be right.
That's fair. We'll see how right you're feeling next. We'll put the ball in your court next, and you can react to Leger's bold prediction. We're staying in the NFC, guys. The 49ers going to take on the Bucs on the road. Of course, that one on CBS as well. We know Baker's been cooking behind center. Pete, you've been bullish on this team as well getting into the postseason. Leger, though, what is your expectation? Give us your bold prediction that's going to impress Pete.
I hope this one impresses Pete. I got Baker Mayfield throwing for over 400 yards and 3 passing touchdowns. Now, he threw for over 350 last week, and we saw Stafford throw for 389 and 3 passing touchdowns. But that 400-yard mark, Haley, is just a different rare air. And I think Baker Mayfield goes over it. I think this game could kind of get like it did last week in Seattle, very loose. Just looking at the injury report for the Bucs, still a lot of banged-up corners in that secondary, which bodes to big plays, which means Baker Mayfield may have to keep up with the San Francisco 49ers, which bodes well for him because he loves playing loose. He loves playing fun. He has the receivers on the outside. Chris Godwin did not practice yesterday, but I think that's by game script because he's coming off the fibula injury. Emeka Egbuka has proven that he's still one of the best young receivers in football. He's going to be a nightmare for that San Francisco defense because, Pete, we talked about this all year long. Without Nick Bosa, they have struggled to get any pressure on the quarterback. And now that Bucs offensive line is starting to get healthy, if you let Baker Mayfield survey the field and sit back there and don't get any pressure, I like him to throw for over 400 yards and 3 passing touchdowns.
Well, no, wait. So 21 more yards than he threw for last week on the road at home against a pass defense that stinks is bold? You said mine wasn't bold? 21 more yards. He threw for 379
400
last
yards,
week.
Pete? 400 yards, Pete?
Well, he almost did that last week, Leger. He threw for 379 last week on the road.
40.
No, he wasn't. We just put the graphic up. 379.
Yeah, there's the numbers last week against the Seahawks. I will mention I did do a quick Google search. StatMuse is telling me that Baker Mayfield has never had a 400-yard game, so I guess it would be bold from that standpoint. But I also default a little bit. We've seen Baker kind of cook. So I like it, Leger, but I also understand where Pete's coming from. Pete, we go over to your side of this conversation next. We're going to Duval. That slip six still replaying in everyone's minds. I know Jacqueline loved that one, all the Jags fans. But we want to see more from Travis Hunter, right? That magic that we were promised from the dual threat guy. Pete, what's the bold prediction when it comes to Travis Hunter for you?
Well, let's put it this way. He has about 10 more commercials than he does have touchdowns. So I think that's something we got to keep an eye on. But look, I think it's coming. You're starting to see more and more of him being comfortable in the passing game. You saw the big play down the field. They want to get him more involved in the passing game down the field, and I think they will. I think he's going to get 2 touchdowns. Since he hasn't got there yet, that's very bold because he hasn't scored a touchdown yet on this season. Now, how does he get them? Does he get one on a pick six? Does he get one by a long pass down the field? Does he get one as a quick screen on the outside? I don't care how he gets them. I just know Travis Hunter is going to get 2 this week against Seattle.
All right, we'll keep our eye on it. Of course, that game happening at 1 o'clock Eastern. Leger, you get final word here when it comes to your bold prediction. We saw Rico Dowdle. He put the Cowboys on notice that he is ready for that revenge game, and rightfully so. He exploded. He gave both the Panthers a win. He gave my fantasy team a win. So shout out to Rico Dowdle here, Leger. But coming off of a career high on the ground, how much bolder does it get when it comes to that player?
Now, Haley, you may not like this bold prediction, but I know our producer, James Lambert, loves this one. Now, he had 200 yards. He had 200 yards rushing versus a terrible Miami run defense. Now, the Cowboys' run defense has actually played pretty well, so I'm not going to do rush yards. I'm going to do total yards. And, yes, I know he had 200 all-purpose last week, but I'm going to go 175 all-purpose and 3 touchdowns. He only had 1 touchdown last week and over 200 yards rushing, but I believe he gets involved in the passing game. If you look at this Cowboys defense, last week Breece Hall had his way in the first half running the football. He finished with 114, but was probably on his way to like 175. Game script, they got, behind that game. He actually became a good receiver in the second half, had 40 yards receiving, and I can see Rico Dowdle doing that. Chuba Hubbard did not practice yesterday, so it could be the Rico Dowdle full revenge game versus the Cowboys. Love what he did last week. Again, he put the team on his back in that win versus the Miami Dolphins. Look for him to get involved. Let's not forget, the Cowboys decided not to re-sign him, and he had 1,000 yards rushing for them last year. So he's going to be highly motivated. Give me 175 all-purpose yards and 3 touchdowns. 1 may be receiving, 2 could be rushing. It doesn't matter. He's going to get into the end zone 3 times.
Pete, thumbs up or thumbs down? Is that bold enough for you? All right. I'm with you. We'll leave it there. Guys, so much fun getting bolder every week. It seems like each time we do this, we just challenge one another. It is so much fun. We will recap all the action on Sunday, 8:20 Eastern. Pete Prisco, Damian Harris, Rand Carthan, and myself on Game Day Recap. We have no fun on that show, Jacqueline, seriously.
Catch us on it all.
Catch us on HQ every Sunday, 8:20 Eastern.